Hey guys, and today I'm going to be teaching you how to play a classic card game known as Coucou or Fui Fui. Now first I'm going to provide a little background information and personal history of this game. Now in my family, we played it with a 40 card Sicilian deck, and we called the game Fui Fui. We actually speculated that our family might have made up the game, because we could never find anything about it by searching it online, even in lists of Sicilian card games, and we had never heard anyone else play it. But I recently searched a few keywords. I found out that the game was actually of French origin. It was called Coucou, and it was played with a 52 card deck. Today I'm going to be teaching you how to play with the Sicilian 40 card deck, but then I'm also going to give examples of how to play with the 52 card deck, and you're going to be able to see that it's very easy to translate the same concepts, and it's a very basic game that can be played with either deck. So let's get into it, and you're going to be playing this game in no time.
Alright, so we got the 40 cards here, yeah? I've laid them out very nicely. It goes from 1 down to 7. And then there's a girl, a guy on a horse, and a king, which are referred to as 8, 9, and 10, if you want to correspond them with their point values in this game. And let me be very clear about this. You see, this deck, it takes some getting used to, because you have to count the items very carefully on the cards. There's 4 suits. As you can see, there's swords, cups, coins, and clubs. And you're going to only want to count the items on the card that actually correspond to the appropriate suit. So you're going to have to be very careful when discerning which number card you have. So let me just go over a few of them. A few of the maybe slightly more whatever. Okay, let me just be really clear about this. The girl is 8 points, the guy on the horse is 9, the king is 10, that's the highest. Ace or 1 is the lowest, it is not the highest. Okay? Now here are the 7s. This is a 7 of swords. You don't count this little picture thing, because it's not a sword. This is a 7 of cups. You don't count the lady, because she's not a cup. She's holding some kind of basin. That's not the rest of the cups, okay? This is a 7 of clubs. You don't count this goblet thing because it's not a club. This is a 6 of cups. You don't count the ship because it's not a cup. This is a 6 of swords. You don't count the ship because it's not a sword. This is a 5 of swords. You don't count the dog because it's not a sword. This is a 5 of cups. You don't count whatever the heck this is because it's not like the other cups. This is a 5 of coins. That counts as a coin, because the 4 is simple. This is a 4 of swords. You don't count the dog because he's not a sword. This is a 4 of cups. You don't count the people fighting because they're not cups. This is a 3 of swords. You don't count the goblet because it's not a sword. This is a 3 of cups. You don't count the house because it's not a cup. This is a 3 of coins. You don't count the man because he's not a coin. This is a 3 of clubs. Even though it's binded together, it's not 1 club. It's 3 clubs. This is 1 club, and this is 2 clubs. They are binded together. You don't count the house. This is a 2 of cups. You don't count the fish because it's not a cup. This is a 2 of swords. You don't count the dog because it's not a sword. This is an ace or 1 of swords. You don't count the house because it's not a sword. And this is a 1 of coins. Even though it's white, it is 1 big coin. You don't count the eagle. The eagle is not a coin. Okay? So there's no more confusion over these cards. Now we can get into playing the actual game. Alright, so the objective of the game is basically to not be the person who ends up with the lowest card. It's not to get the highest card. Getting the highest card is good, but the objective is to not be the person stuck with the lowest card. And you're going to see why that makes sense later in the video. But basically each person playing will get dealt 1 card, and then their main options are going to be to either keep that card or to switch with the person next to them. And this can be played with like 2 to 39 players if we're playing with a 40 card deck technically. And yeah, that's the gist of it. Each player has usually 3 or 4 lives, which are typically designated by coins. And whenever you lose a round, which you do by having the lowest card out of everyone, you put a coin in the middle. And typically the last person to have coins remaining would get the pot. So I'm going to demonstrate how this works in like a 2 and 3 player setting, and the same concepts would just transfer over to even more players, as you'll be able to see. Okay, so now this is set up for a 3 player game. So remember what I said, and it'll make sense shortly, that the goal is to not get the lowest card. The goal is not to get the highest card, it's to not get the lowest card. So let's play a sample 3 player game where I explain the rules. So I'll get my friend Tabby here to be 1 player, and I'll get my friend Aslan to be the second player, and I'm the third player, or first, or whatever. Okay, so one person starts out as the dealer. It doesn't really matter who starts because it just goes around, so everyone has to take turns being the dealer. So the dealer would have shuffled the cards, and then the dealer would deal to the other players. Honestly, I don't even know if it's clockwise or counterclockwise, but it doesn't really matter. The point is, you deal one card to each player. Alright, got it? Okay, one card. So then, if we're going clockwise, then Tabby would go first. So what he would do is he would look at his card. Not show it to anyone else. He would just look at it. I'm just showing for the sake of the camera, showing it. So he would look at his card. And he has two options. He can either keep his card and if he wants to do that, he would say stay or keep or something like that. Or he can switch with the next player in rotation, which is him. If he chooses to switch, he doesn't have a choice. He has to switch. But he should have looked at his card too first. I just didn't reveal it yet. Everyone should look at their cards in the beginning. And remember I said, the goal is to not get the lowest card. So a general rule of thumb is that if you have like below a 5, you probably want to switch because there's a decent chance that you have the lowest or someone has a higher card than you. And 5 is kind of the borderline you're going to see. So it's kind of, sometimes you might want to stay with a 5, sometimes you switch. But a general rule is if you have like 5 or lower, you switch, or maybe just lower than a 5. But anyway, this is lower than a 5. So Tabby has seen that he has a relatively low card. So he's going to say, I don't want to have the lowest card. So I'm going to switch with the next player, which is Aslan. Aslan, having looked at his card, he has a 6. As soon as Tabby, all the cards will not be revealed during this point. Only you look at your card in the beginning. I'm just showing it to you so you know what the number is. So when Tabby says switch, they would switch cards. Now Tabby's turn is done. He cannot do anything. He's stuck with whatever card he has. So his new card and final card is a 6. It is then Aslan's turn to play. Aslan's new card is now a 4. And he just saw that he gave Tabby a 6. And a 4 is still a relatively low card. So he doesn't want to have a 4. He wants to switch with me. And I don't have a choice. So Aslan, he can stay, but since 4 is relatively low, he's going to want to switch with me. So he's going to say switch. And you just saw what I had. So he's going to switch. And now it is my turn. And I am the dealer. The dealer cannot switch with people because Tabby's turn is done. He cannot switch anymore because then it would just be a loop. So you stop switching with people once you get to the dealer. But you still have the option to either keep your card or you draw a card from the deck. So the dealer would reveal his card because he's the last person to get a turn. So I would reveal my card and I would apply the same logic. I'd say, this is a relatively low card. I know I just gave him a higher card, so I'm going to want to switch. So I'm going to pick a card from the deck. And it can be anywhere on the deck. It doesn't have to be on the top. But I'm going to pick a new card from the deck, and that's going to be my final card. And then it's going to be the end of the round. So I'm going to see what I get. So I have gotten a 2. At this point, the round is at the end. Because I am the last person to play as I am the dealer. So once I've drawn my final card, that is the cue for all the other players to reveal their cards. And then all you have to do is simply see who has the lower card, and it's me, because 2 is less than 5 or 6. I have the lowest card, so I would therefore lose one of my lives. You see, we each have 3 lives. Now I only have 2. And I would put that in the center. And now you might be able to understand why we usually use coins. Because the winner would simply be the last person standing, the last person to have any coins, and then typically that person would get all the coins in the middle. So I don't know if you got that, but let's play a couple more practice rounds to see if you can get the hang of it. And then I'll explain maybe like a couple special scenarios. So since I just dealt, the next person to deal would be Tabby. So Tabby shuffled the cards, and he would then deal clockwise again, or counterclockwise, doesn't really matter, but we're going clockwise now. So clockwise, he would deal 1 card to each player, lastly to himself. And now, since Aslan is to the left of the new dealer, he is the first person who takes a turn. So he would look at his card. It's an 8. So he says that's relatively high, and he's going to stay. He's not going to switch his card. Now it's my turn. I would look at my card, that's a 3. I'd say, that's a low card. I don't want that, because I don't want to have the lowest card. So I would switch with Tabby, who has a 7. Now it's Tabby's turn. He's the last person to get a turn. He would look at his card and say, that's a 3. That's a low card. So he's going to want to take a card from the top of the deck as his new card. It's a 4. And now that's the end of the round. Everyone reveals their cards. So now Tabby still has the lowest card. He drew a new card, but it was still lower than a 7 and an 8. So he has to surrender one of his lives. You get it? It's very simple. And I know it looks stupid. It's pretty stupid, but give it a try with a few people. It's better for like probably at least 4 people. Give it a try, and you might get a good laugh out of it. Just give it a try. The point is that it's really simple and stupid, and it's just funny screwing people over. So let's play another practice round. So now it would be Aslan's turn to shuffle and deal the cards, and it would be my turn to go first. So I would look at my card, see it's a 7, and I would think to myself, that's relatively high, so I'm just going to stay. And then it would be Tabby's turn. He would look at his card and see it's an ace, and that's the lowest card in the game. So obviously he doesn't want that, so he's going to say, I want to switch with Aslan. So he would do that. And then look at his new card, keep it to himself. Aslan would then look at his card, his new card, which is the ace that he just got from Tabby, and he'd think to himself, that's the lowest card in the game. So he's obviously going to take a new card from the top of the deck. And then that is his final card. Then everyone would reveal their cards. This is no longer Aslan's card. This is the only card that counts for Aslan. So then everyone would reveal their cards, and we would see that Tabby, unfortunately, again, has the lowest card. So he would surrender another life. And then if he loses one more time, he's out of the game. So now, hopefully you got the hang of it. I'm going to explain a couple more, I guess like a little more examples that you need to know about to be aware of that beginner players might not realize at first. So yeah. So now I'm going to explain a couple of specific scenarios that you have to be on the lookout for. So let's say the game continues and now it's my turn to deal. So Tabby would be the first player to take a turn. So he would look at his card and he would see that's a 2. And he would think that's a really low card, so I'm going to switch with Aslan. Then they would switch cards. Tabby would look at his new card, and he would see that's an ace. And now he's stuck with the ace. Keep that in mind. He can't do anything else because he already took his turn. So Aslan sees his new card, which is a 2 from Tabby. Now, inexperienced players, they might just think intuitively that since this is a 2 and it's a low card, I should switch because I don't want to have a low card. But you should actually not switch in this scenario. And that is why I pointed out before that the goal of the game is not to have the highest card, it is to not have the lowest. So Aslan would not switch in this scenario. He can, but he should not if he wants to have a better chance of winning, or rather not losing, because he knows that this round he's already safe. And why does he know that? Because he should have already looked at his first card, which was the ace. He should have looked at this when the round began. And then he just gave it to Tabby, and he got Tabby's too. So Aslan now knows that Tabby has an ace. And Aslan knows that Tabby took his turn, so he can't do anything else. So he's stuck with the ace. So if Aslan keeps his 2, he's keeping it while being aware of the fact that Tabby has a lower card than him, and Tabby is stuck with that card. So it would be impossible for Aslan to lose this round, because he knows that Tabby has a lower card with him, and that Tabby can't possibly get another card. So Aslan should not switch, because if Aslan were to switch, he would run the risk of me having an ace. I don't have an ace right now, but let's say if I did have an ace, and Aslan then switched, then I would stay, because I would apply the same principle, and I would know that Aslan has a lower card than I do, and Aslan has no more turns to switch. So I would then stay with my 2. And then if Aslan were to have done that, the round would finish, I would stay with this 2 because I know that he's screwed. So then we would all reveal our cards, and what would happen here is actually that they would both lose a life, because they both have the lowest card. So there can be multiple losers in this game. And that's why if you know that the person you just switched with has a lower card than you now have, you should not switch again, because you could risk getting a lower card, and there's no reason to go for the highest card possible when you already know that the person you just switched with has a lower card and can't do anything. So at this point, Tabby would then be out of the game because he has lost all 3 of his lives. And the game would continue 1 versus 1 with just me and Aslan. And now I'm going to explain the other specific scenario. Okay, so this might be a little more difficult to follow along, so you're going to have to pay attention here. And that's also partly due to the fact that my family played this game a little differently until they just recently discovered that it was actually called Coucou and was a French card game, not a Sicilian card game, in fact. So here's a specific scenario. Say that Aslan dealt, and it's just me and Aslan right now because Tabby's out. So say that Aslan dealt, and now therefore it would be my turn to go first. So I'd look at my card, see it's a 3, and then I'd say, I don't want that, I want to switch. Aslan, on the other hand, he has already looked at his card, and it's a king. That's the highest card in the deck. So there's actually a special privilege with the king, and that is that if you have the king, you have the right to deny a person's switch. In all other cases, if you have a 9 or anything lower, you are forced to switch. But if you have a king, you can deny the person the switch, and they cannot switch with you. That's just the rule, because I guess that's the highest card in the game. So this is how the game would be played according to the official rules. I would see that I have a 3, then I would say switch. And this is going to sound a little silly right now, but this is how the game was played. Aslan, knowing that he has the king, when I try to switch with him, he has to say Coucou. And by saying that, he is conveying to me that he is in possession of a king, and I therefore am unable to perform a switch with him. So he would just, when I would say switch, he would say Coucou, and then I would be like, shoot, he has a king, so I can't switch. And in this case, the round would be over. So we would both reveal our cards, and I would lose. And people might think, oh, but you can simply say Coucou when you don't have a king. But you actually can't really do that, because like I have shown, all the cards get revealed at the end. So if you do that, then and it gets revealed, people are going to know that you didn't actually have a king, and that's just going to be a violation, and people will just kick you out of the game or make you lose or whatever. So you can't really deceive people because you're just going to be flipping your cards over anyway. And here's the interesting part. This is what the official rules say. If I decide to switch with him, with my 3, and he forgets to say Coucou when I go to make that switch, then he actually has to switch with me. So it's kind of like Uno. Because since he didn't say Coucou when I was attempting to switch with him, he's going to be punished for not saying that, and therefore he must surrender his card. So you have to remember, when you have a king and someone tries to switch with you, you have to say Coucou, or else you're going to be forced to switch with them. And you can do that on purpose if you want to throw the game, obviously. But if you do not want to throw the game, then you must say Coucou. But now let me explain the way my family did it. So my family, we didn't know about that rule, and we called the game Fui Fui. So what we did was, whenever someone had the king, they could just flip it over immediately. And then you would just know that you can't switch with them. And that's it. So you don't have to say Coucou, but you would just flip over the king, and then that would basically signify, you can't switch with me, I have a king. And it doesn't really matter when you flip it over, as long as they don't actually trade your card yet. So you can wait till someone's trying to trade with you and then switch it, and then that would still be valid. So that's another way of doing it. If you don't want to say Coucou, you can just simply reveal the king, or you can just, I guess you could just replace it with another word like I have the king or something. Or, I mean, you could just say the phrase I have the king, but whatever. So yeah. So anyway, the game would just go on until everyone's out of coins but one player. So let's say I lost again. Then Aslan wins, and he would theoretically take all of the coins in the pot. And that's pretty much it. So yeah, 2 to 39 players, and just try this game out. It's good for a few laughs. I mean, the funny parts are basically just screwing people over, or when one card just gets passed around a lot. Yeah, it looks stupid, and it is, but it's just funny, and it's pretty easy to pick up. So try it out. Oh yeah, my bad. I forgot to give an example of how this can be played with a standard 52 card deck. So let me just give like a quick example of how that would look, just to show that the concepts translate very easily. So each player would still get one card. Say I was the dealer to start out, and then it would basically just be played the exact same way. Tabby would look at his cards, say, I guess that would be decent in this, so he would stay. He would just figure it out. Then Aslan would look, that would be the highest, so he would keep that. I mean, I took out the jokers because you probably wouldn't play with that. Then I would look at my card to say that's low, so I'd pick a new card. Then everyone reveals, and then Tabby would lose. So as you can see, it would be played pretty much exactly the same way. You just have to account for now that there's like 52 cards instead of 40. So 5 is actually even lower than in the Sicilian deck. Alright, just one more quick example with 52 cards for the sake of it. So let's say Tabby's dealer now deals each person one card. Lastly to himself. Aslan's turn to go first, and he's left of the dealer. He looks at his card, sees 4, it's low, so he's going to want to switch with me. Then I'm going to look at what he gave me, which is obviously a 4. Oh, I didn't look. I should have looked at my own card first. Yeah, I had a jack, so now I would look at my 4 and say that's low. So I'm going to switch. And then I got an 8. Then Tabby would look at his 4, see that's low, and he'd pick a card from the top. Then we'd all reveal our cards, and I had the lowest, so I would lose. Yeah, you get the idea. Alright, that's pretty much it. Alright, guys, if you have any questions, please let me know. I'm not that good at explaining, but yeah, give this game a try, and let me know what you think. Alright, see ya.